Let's create something pretty in Procreate. Today I'll show you how to draw a cozy fall wreath filled with autumn leaves and pretty details. We'll go step by step together, focusing on composition, placement, and building up the sketch layers to get that lovely balanced wreath shape. We'll be working on a standard 3000 by 3000 pixel canvas, and I've left a link to the color palette down in the description so you can follow along with the exact same colors I'm using. And if you're ready, let's draw together. Let's start off by grabbing the sketching brush we'll be using today. It's part of the Illustrator starter kit, and if you don't already have it, go to the goodie bag at prettylittlelines.com to get it for free. And in there you'll find the sketching pencil and all the brushes that we'll be using today. So I'm going to use the one that's just called Sketching Pencils in the Character Design Academy sample pack. And I'm just going to go and just grab you can just have this brown color here. I'm using the Autumn palette just as a launch pad for just bringing all of our colors together today. All right, so we can just go ahead and with our sketching pencil and draw a circle. So I'm just gonna draw a rough circle, hold it, and then put my finger down and it will be a perfect circle. So I don't want it too big because we want to have, stuff, foliage coming out the side. So have it about, let's say here, we should hopefully be safe with that. I'm just gonna move it into the center roughly. And we should just have that nice guide so we don't get too far off track. All right, and then we can just start to go and kind of map out where I want some elements, sort of how it's going to be weighted. So I do want the majority of the action going on here, this lower part, and then we'll have a little bit more here, and then it'll just be foliage throughout. So my kind of hero flower is gonna go right here, and then beside it, I'm gonna tuck in a little pumpkin. So it's going to be a little bit bigger than the pumpkin, just varying the sizes. Then we'll have another flower, smaller size, kind of come up this way. And then I'm going to have kind of some toadstools tucking in here. Again, just adding these nice elements. I don't know what shapes I'm drawing right now. Like that. That's what I'm trying to do. All right. And then up here, we'll have another little pumpkin. I'll show you that this is a pumpkin here. And this pumpkin here. And then that will be supported by some leaves and foliage. So that kind of sits in there. So we'll have, you know what, I think I'm gonna make this one a little bit smaller. It's a little bit too much the same size as that. I just kind of want it to echo what's going on there. Okay, so I'll have some leaves and some sort of leaves out here, and then we'll be coming around. So I'm just sort of making sure that I kind of do these basic shapes first, just so I can kind of make sure that my placement is correct. I'm kind of wondering about just turning this slightly with my green toggle, just so it's a little bit more on an angle. So this is just a little bit more that way. And then taking my selection tool with freehand and add selection. I'm just gonna select this and with my arrow, just move it back up there a little bit. I think I like that better. Okay. It's always the best time to move things around now. So I'm just gonna select my little toadstool shapes here. I'm just gonna size them a little bit and just move them ever so slightly here so that I can fit in some nice leaves, because you kind of have to make them growing out of something, not just floating on their own. You kind of want something to cover the base of them. So some leaves here will help us do that. So just, again, right at this stage, we're just doing just shapes. I'm not actually going to draw in what's here quite yet. Maybe a leaf there, some supporting elements here, kind of coming up around here. And then this will be leaves in there. That's actually, let's just do kind of more like that kind of thing. And then we'll have sort of maybe A bit finer details here, like a little bit of smaller leaves, kind of like that. So this is the main flower. This is a flower that's going to be kind of looking this way. That makes sense with this. Just erase that. Here, I'll just erase that and show it this way, kind of looking that way. So that's the inside. So you can kind of see how that's nicely balanced. I hope you're having fun enjoying this tutorial so far. If you'd like to take your drawing and painting skills in Procreate to the next level and do it in a way that feels relaxing and joyful, then check out my courses over at prettylittlelines.com. You'll find lots of different styles, step-by-step lessons, and in-depth teaching that I'm sure will spark your creativity and inspire you. There's something for everyone, especially beginners, and I think you'll really enjoy what's waiting there. I'll leave a link for you in the description below so you can check it out. But for now, let's jump back into the lesson and keep creating together. So once you have a general idea of where you're wanting to go, we can just use this as our rough sketch and just bring that opacity down just by tapping on the end, just changing that layer opacity so we can draw on a new layer on top. So I'm still sticking with the sketching pencil. My brush size is at about 20. And then we can start to put this together. Okay, so for the center, I'm just going to do a bunch of little circles, just like that. Just to create a textured looking center. It's just really simple. Just keep doing circles around circles. And that creates that nice nibbly texture in the center. Just making sure it's big enough. Okay, that should be good. From there, we can start drawing our petals. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and go to your guide layer below. Let me just turn it up a little bit. If you feel more comfortable, you can always do this. Just kind of give yourself sort of like spokes from a wheel. Just sort of placing where you want your petals so you can kind of evenly put them around. If that helps you a little bit. It's always nice to have a guide. Okay, I'm just turning that down just a little bit. So now we can draw our petals. So they're just going to come up and around, really simple. And they're going to have gaps because there will be ones below that. I'll just attempt to have them the same size roughly. Okay, so we end up with something like that. Now you're gonna go kind of in the layer below and just put them another set. And they don't have to be perfect. See, I kind of want them a little bit different, not all perfectly lined up. Just gonna have a little bit of variation there. Something like that. Actually, I don't like the way those two mirrored each other, so I'm going to try this instead. Maybe go just like that. Okay, so that looks nice and full. And then you can just make sure that all of your little circles here, all the lines touch. Okay, lovely. We're well on our way. Okay, so for this one, what you're gonna do is just create your center first. So we're just gonna kind of do these little circles again. Just kind of like this. Okay, won't be as many as the other one because you're not gonna see them all. So then you're gonna have a petal going up like this. another one going out like this. Okay. Now, how you come at the front here, you're going to just have it kind of swoop like that. Swoop like that. Let's just make sure that's coming like that. And having these come around. So then you're going to have another one kind of come like, you know, out the front a little bit. And then you'll see sort of the stem part. That just makes it look a little bit more interesting. I have a few more petals coming up here. I'm just making sure these little bits are like that. Okay, so that looks nice. Let's move on to our little pumpkins. So this one, I'm going to not have it completely on the side view. We're going to be able to see a little bit of the top of it. So we can just kind of give yourself a bit of a circle here, just like that. We can erase it once we're done. So then you're going to want the stalk to come up from it, like that, and then have a rounded bottom. So then you can just erase, get your brush small enough, erase just that little circle that you did. So it's like that. And then you're going to have, just draw a rounded shape like that. And then a rounded shape like this. I'm just going to make sure I'm going either overlapping this or not. It'll just, you just don't want to go beside it. It'll look really awkward. So pick in front or behind, depending on how yours turned out. And I'm just going to erase this little bit here. And then just keep going around. This doesn't look very neat. Okay, and then on the others, the opposite side, just these two little bumps like that. And there you have a pumpkin. Okay, so while we're drawing pumpkins, let's just do this one. This one we won't see the top of, we'll just see the sides. So just do a circle. I'm just gonna make sure that this is big enough. And I kind of want it on, I think, the logical angle that this would be. So I'm just gonna draw like that. And then another rounded shape. They need to be getting smaller as they go around, of course. Shorter on the bottom here, and then around, and like that. And then you can have the little bit coming up. Okay, I think that size is okay. That's nicely balanced. All right, so let's maybe just do our leaves here, and then we'll tuck our little toadstools in behind. So let's see. We'll have one coming this way. We'll just sort of give it a little shape like this. You can have some veins there. Something like that. I wonder if that's a little bit too big actually. So we can just go and take our selection tool, just select it and make it a little bit smaller. Yeah, I didn't want that to get too out of hand. Okay, so that's good. You can just clean up anything that might have gotten messy while you did that. And then let's see, let's just have a few. few little leaves like that. What else can we have? I think maybe a little leaf that's sort of peeking up this way, maybe overlapping the pumpkin here. Going behind. Okay, so why don't we draw these little toadstools here? Let's just start with this little guy here. So we're going to see the back of him, so you can draw a circle and then just draw the little cap. And then you're just going to have the stalk coming out from there, from the center, and then just erase that line like that. You're going to have that a little bit wiggly too. And then you're going to see these little bits underneath, little lines. Quite small to make those details, but that's okay. That looks good. And this one, just a little cap like that, and you can give it a little wiggle. And bringing in the stalk like that. And let's see. Let's have this one just tucking in here. It's not quite where I want that, so we can erase that. Actually, let's take it all the way out. Let's see, we'll have it quite small. Maybe like that. I think I might just make the stalk a little bit thicker. There, I think that makes more sense. So it's a little bit different than the others. And then we can give it a few spots. Okay, perfect. Then let's move on to, let's see, let's bring in some more leaves and whatnot. Okay, so I'm gonna just bring one up here. I'm just gonna start filling it in and have them, you know, being tucked behind things too, so it kind of integrates them into the whole drawing, so they're not just floating separately. Like that. And maybe we'll have, I might turn off my guide afterwards and see what I want in there. Let's kind of do a few little smaller details here. So just have kind of like a stick kind of thing, and then you can just kind of put a little loops on the ends. For that type of look. It's nice to have different textures. I have just these little edges to the leaves. And then you can do a few veins as well. Maybe another little bit peeking out here. There, just starting to fill these in. So this one should be a little bit bigger, I think. And I'm gonna have it, you know, sort of following, curving around to starting to follow that circle a bit. So let's have a little bit more of this, a substantial leaf here. Just a little bit on the top to start, and then little bits like that. and putting in those veins, like where they match up the curves. Okay. And then we should probably kind of establish as we go along where this line is. That will be where sort of the branches part, so you can kind of give it some thickness like that, and then kind of things will be coming off of that, like all the little leaves will be stemming from that. So this leaf maybe will go in front like that. And let's see, maybe I will have them overlapping like that. And another little one here. Not sure I like them like that, to be honest. It looked a little bit too all soldiers in a row. So let's be a little bit more irregular. Makes it look a little bit more natural. Maybe we'll have one kind of a smaller one. So I'm just trying to balance between the sizes of things. I think this will be another different shape and sizing. It'll just make it look a little bit more interesting, I think. And then what about some more grassy type stuff? Let's see if we can't bring this from behind here, just behind that leaf. And let's see. So a little bit more, you can just give it a little bit of thickness like that. Maybe like that's probably enough. And let's see, still here, I'm just gonna do a bit of the branch. I'm just giving it a slightly wiggly line, just like that. So you can see it's here, it's going around. Maybe something a little bit smaller again that is a bit twiggier, little berries. Try not to do things like three like that. I think it looks a little bit more natural if you have them not quite so lined up. This, and then I like these little berries. Just kind of alternating. That's looking pretty. Okay, so maybe some more standard looking leaves here. Just continue on this branch and then have some wider, some broader leaves now. Maybe something curving. Like that is looking good. And just keep going around and just keep zooming out so you're kind of seeing where you're at. It's hard, sometimes you get stuck so zoomed in and you got to zoom out, see what's going on. These are just getting smaller as I move forward. And that really establishes that circle. So that looks good. Okay, so at some point you kind of have to go the other way. So this is going to kind of have its own little special leaves or legs kind of spot. And let's just kind of overlap or kind of tuck these in behind here. And just have some kind of going this way. And you can have them going up to maybe, let's see. I just sort of have a stem coming up from here. And you can have them overlap too with this one, just maybe some berries, something a little bit lighter. So now I'm going to want to sort of establish this area. So at this point, we're going to make the leaves go in this direction and in this direction, just kind of making a special spot for this pumpkin. So let's start just by going this way. And I'm actually going to have one of these sort of tucked in here to make sure you're on your brush. Kind of tuck behind. Actually, I don't really quite like that shape. Make it have a bit narrower there. We can kind of have two. And then one kind of coming up here. Actually, I don't like how close that is there. Something like that. All right, and then we can have kind of more of a broader one that comes down like this. And then another one that's going to come down like here. So let's just start with this one. You can actually do the little veins like this, if that's easier. And then kind of put the parts on like this. Something like that. Actually, maybe that one should be a little bit wider at so it's not just coming right out from there, you know, kind of it's sitting on more of it, not just the edge of it. Probably make a bit more sense. So this one, I want that to happen here, so I'm just going to mark that out. Same thing we can do. Sort of more of a pointy one. Kind of like that. And let's see, we'll have something a little bit more broad, but not quite as big here. Maybe some sort of berries type thing. Okay, that looks all right. So then I'm going to kind of, let's see, bring some bigger short sort of leaves like that. Curving up. Actually, that's too far away. I think I want it to be a little bit closer. Just like that. Yeah. And then another one like this. Again, you can do your little veins if you wish. Make it a little rounder this time. Good stuff. Now we need something here. Maybe something that's a little stickier. Sure, that's good. And let's see, make sure that we have our branch coming in a minute. We'll have to get that. Something that's kind of curving in a bit, that has some little berries on it. And the berries can have some leaves as well. Going all the way around. Okay, that looks good. And then let's just make sure that we have this branch coming here. And then I'm going to have another little sort of this type of shape. Actually, I'm going to make it so it looks a little bit more variegated just by using the pressure of my pen. I'm going to go, you know, light, hard, light, hard. And that just makes those little wiggly lines. We'll have this cross the branch. Good stuff. I just want to make sure that this isn't, it's actually in line with exactly with that branch. So let's just make sure that that's obvious that it's overlapping there. Just going to clean this up just a touch. Okay, so I'm just going to review this. I think I need a little bit of berry here, just a little bit. Yeah, I think that's good. I'm just looking at the overall weighting of everything. Okay, so let's return, these leaves are going to be returning back up this way, so let's do that. So maybe we'll have something, actually I'm just going to get the curve of it first. And I can go over that, just erase that. That looks a little bit too in line with that, so maybe we'll, yeah, make it look a little bit different. Okay, so then this can come all the way here. That just kind of blends into where that begins. Okay, good. So you can see that we need a little bit more here. Actually, I'm going to turn off my sketch below. It's just a little bit distracting right now. So I feel like that we don't really need it anymore. Kind of seeing where I can take this. Maybe we'll do some slightly bigger berried looking plants. Oops. Okay, and then here needs a little something too. So maybe, let's see, something like that. Okay. And maybe we'll just have something come here too. Yeah, actually might even just be enough. Okay, I think my only complaint is that this might come out a little bit too far. So what if we went and grabbed the selection tool and just selected this, took the arrow, flipped it horizontal, and just so it's curving up that way, maybe I wonder if that would work. Yeah, that's probably a little bit more balanced. So I can do that. It's gonna have that coming out from behind here. Okay, my goodness, lots of work. So you can go ahead and just put a little bit of detail on these leaves if you wish. So we can just do a little bit more line work if you want to have that kind of look, which can be really nice. Let's see where else, maybe here. Sort of balances out, and maybe I'll just do a few on this. So it's just on like one side. See, you can tell, see it's balanced here, and so something needs to be here as well. Just kind of, we're trying to have the overall look of this composition just be nice and balanced, even with all the line detail. It might need to be this one too. Okay, there we go, happy with that. I think with our flowers, we can go ahead and just do a few lines like this. Just gives it a nice detail. I'm being lighter pressure and then harder as I get close to the center. So just really practice using that pressure sensitivity. Really does make a difference to your line work. And let's do this one as well. Just making sure that those lines are all in the same direction that the petal is going. Okay, what a nice difference. And we can do the little bits on here, same thing, just make sure that you're following the direction. Okay, looks good. Well, that's it for this week. Our sketch is all complete and we're all ready to paint for next week. So stay tuned for part 2 where we'll finish this up and make it all pretty and lovely with a lovely autumn color palette. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, I'd love it if you gave it a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps this channel immensely. So I appreciate you guys so much. I love you, and I will see you in the next one.